Okay, so what I learned in my 20s. What I learned in my 20s is that everything ends. Relationships end. Puppy love ends. And there's something called puppy love. Um, there isn't such thing as a forever person. There is a forever you. Nothing lasts forever. When I had relationships, I was like, okay, this is my forever person. And then I always had a hard time, like when I used to watch movies and TV shows, I just hated the endings, right? What did I learn? My education. I learned my education. I learned to drive. I learned how to do makeup. I learned how to work. What did I learn? To go to like college, university. I learned about disappointments and relationships. That's what I learned. I learned how to accept endings. For every relationship, there's always the ending. I learned to start and finish quickly with relationships. I learned how to communicate with family. I learned to embrace a side of me that was me and wasn't a statistic, like wasn't just a yes person. I learned to express my train of thought. I learned to become my own individual. So outside of all the confusion that I had about my own upbringing, like when I say upbringing, like life, family life, outside of that, I was getting to know what I liked and what I didn't like, what I wanted to do, what I didn't want to do, because I was very confused. Like I didn't even know what profession I wanted to go into. So when it came down to like selecting universities and stuff, I really had no goals there. I learned to establish goals for myself. So it wasn't until I started dabbling in like different types of work culture, like not work culture, but just work settings, right? So I think I did banking for a bit. I did like cashiering for a bit. Like I think I worked for a dollar store at one point. Found that I really enjoyed talking with people, like customers, stuff like that. Like it was just simple settings that I really, really enjoyed. And then I found through the help of fellow colleagues, like good colleagues, like friends that I had started working with in different companies. I mean, they went off to bigger and better places, and then they had remembered me, so they helped me to get my foot through the door when it came to management. So I mean, it was a stepping stone, right? So it wasn't where I was, right? So I started off here, the next level was here. So when I went, just to try it out, and I'm like, oh yes, now I really like it. Like I tried it, I'm like, yeah, for sure. I wanted to stay within management, and then just start growing, because then I just had started to see like a whole new world around me. Managers and their managers, and then I just wanted to be to aspire to become their managers, and then their managers, right? So then, So I one of the things I learned was in my 20s was that I learned about death, right? My grandparents passed away, and then my aunt passed away. I learned about friendships, like true friendships too. Who's like, there isn't, there's all levels types of friendships, right? Where I thought there was like true friendship, there wasn't. There can be backstabbing in friendships. So the screening factor, like the interview part, is very important when interviewing for friends. Pretty much you have to interview friends too. So no matter who they are, where they come from, it's very important to screen and interview friendships, because at some point friendships change, and that's another lesson. Friendships change. Friendships also end. So I learned how to tweak and change how I make friends, and get the type of friendships that and befriend friendships that are more to the values that I hold dear. I learned not to care as much. I learned how not to care much about what people said, because I found people, like, misery loves company, right? And there's a lot of company that people want, right? So the more misery people can create, the more company that they can keep. The funny thing to that is they only want to keep the company, right? When they're in their pool of misery, they will make another person feel miserable and bring them into their pool of misery until they feel better. Once they feel better about themselves, that pool disappears, and then they level up, leaving the person that they brought into that level of misery, leaving them there, right? So it's more of a self-serving, selfish act, right? Listen, the people, just be smarter about your lives. That whoever's watching these videos, like, if you're in a happy place, use zero to let people bring you down, right? Use zero to let them, like, direct you to a place where you're sad all the time. Okay, those people you want to stay away from. The people that want to bring you to a level of, like, happiness and success, that make you a better version of yourself without hurting other people. Those are the people, like, they're like, okay, achieve your level of education, become a lawyer, doctor, what have you. Those people you want to keep, and they themselves have aspired to levels of the same, and they have integrity, they have values, morals, right? That help people, zero hurt people or put them into like compromising situations. In my 20s, what else did I learn? I learned heartache, disappointments. At the same breath, I did learn achievements. So whatever companies I was working with, I did have levels of achievements. Like, my ideas that I was implementing for the company were flourishing, right? Like, I was selling a lot. My quotas were being filled. People were getting value from my input. In turn, it helped me with my income, where I was able to help in the home front. So there was a lot of happiness that it made me feel happy that I was contributing in some way, that made, like, other people, like people in my family at home, happy. Also, happiness at home, I was making people at work happy, in the workplace happy. And then further, I was making just people that I randomly met, that were like customers, guests, happy as well. So that made me happy. So I was receiving a lot of levels of achievement in a different way, without getting like the medal of, or a trophy of valor or what have you. Just I I was actually, I started getting senses of accomplishment that were different from like school, you know. I learned that, see, at school you'd get like gold stars and all that stuff, right? And that's great because there's value in education. Like, you learn things from education that you can apply to your work and all that stuff, right? So yeah, I found in real life, like in the working world, people don't, like, they don't tell you that you're doing the right thing. In fact, when you when you walk into the working world, you're literally left on your own. Like, you have no idea where you fit in. You just kind of you kind of get a sense of, okay, this area is not being done. I'll just kind of try to pick up this area, and then you just find your way somewhere in between, right? So it's pretty much you're picking up where you find needs to be picked up, right? And then everybody's doing their own thing. That's another thing. People are doing their own thing. So where all eyes were on you, right? It's not, right? Not to say them all eyes were on me all the time, but you know, it's pretty much the same, because you find that everybody has their own responsibilities. Everyone is struggling, you know. I think was it Tony Robbins or someone? They had said that, you know, even the most famous people, it might, from the shell, the outside of a person. I think I had another superficial video as well that pointed it out. Like, from the surface, everything looks fine and dandy. It's behind the scenes, right? So you could be born poor, middle class, or even as a celebrity like I'm mentioning. The levels of struggle that people are feeling is the same. So they're still struggling. You know, you wouldn't have overdosing and things of that sort with celebrities if they weren't struggling then, right? Yeah, so that's pretty much what I learned in my 20s. And I did find time was going really fast. Like, the days went really, really fast. It was like a year in no time. And then trying to achieve that income bracket, like that financial bracket, I was never able to achieve it in my 20s. That's for sure. That's for sure. It's all about friends, really. Spending time with friends. Except the 20s, they go very fast. Like, you wouldn't even know it. I would have changed a lot in my 20s had I known what I know now. Like, what I did and what I was doing. I know when I was burnt with my puppy love, I gave up on finding true love. So I just pretty much started to what I was more like enjoying my life. Like, I just gave it up, like finding relationships and stuff. I didn't believe in them. Like, you know, I just thought they were full of shit. Truth be told, like love and all that stuff, I didn't believe in it. So I just pretty much said, okay, whoever wants to, you know, be in front of me and see where it goes, fine. Other than that, I didn't put all my eggs in one basket. That's for sure. I zero slept around either. I'm just saying that was zero my priority. My corporate career became my priority. That's pretty much what happened. And I'm zero saying that that was the wrong thing to do, because that was definitely the right thing to do. Except I wish I didn't sleep for like 10 years on relationships. And sleep meaning like I stopped looking, right? If I had, I don't know how I would have branched out more, looked around more, but you know. Oh, wait a minute, I did do a video on why I was still single for so long, so check out that video. So I think I know now. Yeah. So had I known this stuff now, I would have done things differently. Like where I went, social settings, and being true to myself in that sense. So, yeah. Yeah. And also with being my own cock block, like falling into all those kind of oh, if it isn't my puppy love, then it's no one else kind of thing. So yeah, like instead of saying, okay, after that puppy love, blocking off any and all relationships after, I would have done that differently for sure. So yeah, that's all I can think of for my 20s. Because I don't think I was old enough to be anyone's mentor. Because I was still trying to find answers about certain things in my life that I had questions. So if you have people that are not paying attention to you and stuff, they have answers that they're looking for too, right? They're running after something, to answer their questions. So they're running towards something in their life to answer their questions. So you can zero hold them accountable or responsible. Because remember, if they're the same age as you, their responsibilities are the same too. Their questions are a little bit different, but they do have questions, They do have to-dos in their thoughts, their lives. They have their own responsibilities too. Kind of let them get those answers too, like zero kind of be all hurt and okay, maybe not. I'll just anyhow, that's all I have. Talk to you later.
Subscribe.